It is Wednesday morning, February 17th. It is the first day of Lent. And what I want to share with you today is what I laid the foundation for on Sunday, 40 days of testing. Now, I know that a lot here in Texas have felt as if though you've already gone through 40 days of testing just in the last 3 days. I know there's been many without electricity for multiple times. We also have been, and so I don't know how long our electricity will be on here at the house, but it's on right now. And so I want to share a couple things real quick this morning on our first day of Lent. It comes from Genesis chapter 22, and it is the story of Abraham. And verse 1 and 2 says, "Now it came about after these things that God tested Abraham and said to him, 'Abraham,' and he said, 'Here I am.' And he said, 'Take now your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, which I will tell you.'" So the first thing I want y'all to realize about this is that God tests Abraham. He tested him. Now, God is looking down and he sees Abraham, and he notices something. He noticed that Abraham has an amazing love for his son Isaac. Well, this is normal, but God is going to test Abraham. God's going to see whether or not Abraham loves Isaac more than Abraham loves God. So when we think about this testing over the next 40 days, realize that it's God who chooses. God is looking in your heart, and he's going to find out what it is that you love. What is it that you love? And is it possible that you love that thing or that person more than you love God? And so also notice here that they're going to go on a journey. Now we find out that journey will take 3 days. So in Genesis chapter 22, it says, verse 3 says, "So Abraham rose early in the morning, saddled his donkey, took 2 of his young men with him and Isaac his son, and he split the wood for the burnt offering, and he rose and he went to the place of which God had told him." Verse 4, "And on the 3rd day, Abraham raised his eyes and saw the place from a distance. Abraham said to his young men, 'Stay here with the donkey, and I and the lad will go over there, and we will worship and return to you.'" Verse 6 says that Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, and he took in his hand the fire and the knife, and so the 2 of them walked on together. Now, here's something else I want to share with you. There's so many similarities between Isaac and Jesus, from it being a 3-day journey to Isaac carrying the wood like Jesus carried the cross, and Isaac being a son that is loved by the Father as Jesus was that son that was loved by the Father as well. But the part there that I want you to see is that this was a journey, and it was like a bonding time. So Abraham really loved Isaac, but the love that he had for Isaac is going to be enhanced as he goes on this journey, as they talk together and they share this bonding time. And so this is going to also test the faith of Abraham, the commitment of Abraham, the stick-to-itness of Abraham to finish the journey. This isn't going to be over in a day that we just say, okay, what is it that I'm supposed to sacrifice, and then we sacrifice and it's over. No, this is a journey that it's going to take. And on this journey, we're going to see that the love that we have for this thing or this person or whatever, it's going to be enhanced over these next 40 days. But are you going to be willing still to stick with it and to offer that as a sacrifice? So let's continue reading verse 9. And it says, then they came to the place of which God had told him, and Abraham built the altar there and arranged the wood, and he bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Abraham stretched out his hand, and he took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, "Abraham, Abraham." And he said, "Here I am." And he said, "Do not stretch out your hand against the lad, and do nothing to him, for now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. When that concludes with, now I know, you see, God was testing Abraham to determine whether or not Abraham really loved God, really feared God. Now, we say we love God. We maybe say it in our songs or in our tweets or on our post on Facebook, but do we really love God like this? That we're willing to take the very thing that we love, not the thing that we think that we love the most, but the thing that God has evaluated. God has scanned our hearts, and God says, this is the thing I want you to take that journey and sacrifice that for me. And so Abraham did that. He grew in his love for his son over those 3 days, and yet he was willing to stick with it. He was willing to be faithful because he believed that God was faithful. Verse 13 says, then Abraham raised his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went up, and he took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the place of his son. Abraham called the name of that place, the Lord will provide. And as it's said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it will be provided. Well, we all know that the great provision by God is Jesus Christ. He is the Lamb. But I want to conclude with this thought. You see, Jesus was, it was offered in place of. That ram was offered in place of Abraham's sacrifice. And so the question is, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because Jesus is God's one and only beloved Son, and it is in place of your sacrifice. So whenever you think of how great your sacrifice is, realize that God offers that much greater in place of. Okay? So as we journey these next 40 days, just be mindful that we are being tested. God wants to know what is in your heart. Do you truly love Him as much as you love the things of this world? Allow God to challenge you. And as you go on these 40-day journey, your love, your cravings, your passions for that thing will probably increase. But will you be able to stick to it? Will you be able to offer that sacrifice at the end of the day when we get to Mount Moriah? Thank you guys so much for watching today. I pray that y'all have a blessed day.